Hello and welcome to Chatcave Podcast, where we walk you through, scene by scene, of a movie and give our opinion on the scene and the movie in general. I'm your host, Dranking Thomas Hughes.
Hi, I'm Hayden, and I totally remember this film.
That's what you get for going shopping.
Not my fault. You
Anyway,
too.
today we're discussing Friday the 13th, our third slasher remake, reboot, whatever the fuck you want to call it on the podcast. And it was released in 2009 by director Marcus Nispel, who directed the Texas Chainsaw reboot, which we did a few weeks back.
Hmm.
Same director, but a better
Yeah.
movie. The movie stars Jared Padalecki, most famous for his role as Sam Winchester in Supernatural.
Yeah,
15 seasons of Supernatural I might fucking add.
and counting.
Right, the finish now, this is it. 15's up.
Still, you never know with them lot.
Might remake, come back again like in a few years' time and go, oh, we're
Yeah,
back!
we'll do more. We'll do more.
He also starred in the anime single series adaptation of the show. They did like an anime series
hmm
just for a one shot, which was alright. It was just pretty much the first series remade, but anime style. Plus minus Jensen Ackles since he couldn't do it.
Mm.
He was also in the horror remake House of Wax. So he's no shows for horror remakes.
Mm.
Horror movie Cry Wolf. The series Gilmore Girls, which he had to drop out of because of landing the Supernatural gig. But anyway, he's already got his next gig lined up. He's doing the remake of the Chuck Norris series Walker, Texas Ranger. Simply titled Walker this time.
Mm.
Which comes out next year. CW again, obviously.
Yeah, true.
Talking of CW, the movie also stars Daniel Panabaker, another well-known TV star, thanks to her leading role as Caitlin Snow in
Yeah.
The Flash since
And Sky
2014.
High. She's in Sky High.
That's the end of my list for crying out loud.
Fuck you.
But yeah, she's in Sky High, but anyway, she's obviously also no shy horror remake star because she was in the Crazies remake,
Hmm.
and she's also in the sequel to the remake Piranha 3D, which is titled Piranha 3 Double D. She was also in the last John Carpenter directed movie, The Ward.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a Transformers connection in the form of Travis Van Winkle, but I'll get to that later on, don't worry. He was starred in the series, which is also produced by director Michael Bay, called The Last Ship. God, he's got his hand in a lot of pockets, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. Mostly Megan Fox's.
He was also in the spoof Meet the Spartans, which obviously took the piss out of 300 and many other things like Shrek.
Mm.
But to keep things short, the last name I'll drop is the incredible Derek Mears, who played the titular role in the sadly cancelled Swamp Thing series.
Mm.
He also appeared ironically in The Flash as Dark Star or something like that, or something along that line. I think it was a few years back.
Mm.
And he was also one of the Krees in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for like an episode or two.
Ah.
And again, he's no shy to the horror genre, as he was in the horror remake sequel, The Hills of Eyes 2, which was a sequel to the first one, which was ironically directed by the guy who directed Crawl.
There's connections in this.
Whoa.
It feels connected a lot.
He was also in Predators, probably easily the best Predator entry since the original.
Mm.
And what else was he in? Ironically, also he was in Hatchet 3, similar to some actors and actresses we spoke of during the Halloween podcast last week, because we had one or two from the Hatchet franchise in there, and we have one in this. But anyway, I think that covers about most of it. I'll name drop the others during the actual podcast, but
eventually.
Movie focuses on Clay Miller, who goes to find his sister who disappeared near Camp Crystal Lake, who are camping with her boyfriend and his friends. But along with a group of young adults, Clay is going to encounter the legendary Jason Voorhees and his murderous intentions. Okay, then, so let's get straight into this. This is literally your second ever Friday the 13th movie after watching the Freddy vs. Jason?
Yeah.
How many years ago that wasn't it?
So I have at least something to compare it to. A lot of the others.
The
The one's more based on like what I've seen like in pop culture and stuff. This one I've actually at least seen a Jason. Isn't it done by the same guy or?
No, different guy. This is Derek Mears. It was Ken. I can't remember his last name in Freddy vs. Jason, which obviously pissed off people because they wanted the original last actor to do it. It was like one of the biggest Jason icons. But no, it's a different guy. He's a lot shorter. This version is, but that's why it makes him more agile.
He's a lot more fast, definitely. Shall we say?
But yeah, also you technically lied. You do know the others. You watched Stan Helsing. They're in that.
I mean, technically, they're not the same.
But yeah, so let's get straight into this. The movie opens just as the original ends, with Pamela already having killed all the other councillors before going after the final one, which leads to her being beheaded by the councillor, which is watched by a young Jason Voorhees from a distance. He's like hiding behind a tree in the bush, watching. He likes hiding in bushes in this film. I noticed that.
Oh yeah, very different to like the just menacingly standing.
This one likes to hide in bushes.
Yeah, this was more like I'm gonna be sneaky instead of I'm gonna just be creepy.
Yeah, he obviously walks over, grabs the machete.
Yeah,
and it basically cuts to his mum going, "Kills the mother." And she does that long-winded, obviously, speech of, "Oh, they've done this to you. They've done this to me. Oh, go and deal with them, whatever it takes." Which obviously is pretty much just very similar line to the first one. Obviously, just done by a different actress.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously this is a partial opening. It's not a proper opening. This is more just to plug the actors who are in it, more than obviously say, "Oh, this is the opening," because we got the opening to go, and that's one fucking big opening.
Yeah, but at first I was like, "Oh, this is like the opening, so these are the characters we could get used to," and suddenly, all hell breaks out.
I was going to say, I should have warned you. It's probably the biggest sort of opening we've ever covered on the podcast, because I will state the length of the theatrical version, which we watched on Netflix. Yeah. I will state out to cut. I believe it's just a little bit longer for the extended one by like a few seconds, or I'm not too sure. But yeah,
it's like 20-some minutes.
I'll point out the exact. I fucking paused it at the exact moment just to get that fucking note.
Of course you did.
But
nerd.
Coming from you, Scooby Doo.
The difference.
But yeah, so for this being like essentially part one, as in the first ever Friday movie, just this little like 2-minute long segment, if that. For this being part one, obviously just sums up what happened, and obviously we get even more of a sum up later on in the actual next part of the movie, which I'm dubbing part two. The original's part two, because it pretty much is that, for the fact it's Baghead Jason. So that obviously there's a bit more explained here, but I do think it's nice for them to start off, obviously, giving his backstory and keeping it there and keeping it simple, not changing it drastically like they did with Michael in the last Halloween movie. They drastically changed it to have him break in like a broken household, whereas obviously the original, it wasn't. It was just like a kid that snapped. So I like the fact they've kept it simple and sweet, just how I like it.
Exactly the same as what, like, I know, at least from what I've seen in like videos and stuff, was that the original, obviously, the first one was all just the mother, and then the second one is Jason getting revenge in a way. But the
first one they did it from the point of view of her. Yeah, the first one obviously they did it straight from her point of view. You never even saw her till the end of the movie. You saw her throughout, but you never saw who was killing. It was all done from the killer's POV, which is obviously different kind of film. It's quite nice to see something like that, rather than obviously just unique. Yeah, I can't. Maybe Black Christmas that sort of did the same, but it did keep cutting to the killer's sort of facial features so you could see him. But this is quite more unique in that way.
And you never see her until the very end.
Yeah, when it's obviously revealed that she's obviously the psycho, and obviously so then 2 brings obviously Jason into the fold, much older, much more lean and meaner, and obviously carries on his story through fucking how many parts? Technically, originally it was through like 3 parts before they then decided to do a Halloween season of the witch and did like spin-off movies, like set in the same universe, an anthology sort of thing. But again, it was a failure. No one liked it. Want Jason back, so they brought him back for 6 and carried on his story then. Fuck me. No one's ever happy, are they?
No. You'll never be happy, Tom.
I know. I'm never happy. But anyway, so we cut into part 2 now. And we got our first batch of young adults. We got Wade, Whitney, Richie, Mike, and Amanda. So Mike is Whitney's boyfriend. Wade's just the sort of nerdy douchey kind of
Definitely.
guy.
Like, obviously, like trying to force the nerd stuff in, but it's a bit fake.
It's not as good as Chewie later on.
Yeah.
He's much more of a nerd than Wade, but he's still funny.
Like, may the fourth be with you. Like, he's a bit.
But yeah, and obviously Richie is Amanda's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Wade and Richie have this discussion about mountain lions, saying obviously this is danger, what they're going to eat them. And Amanda's obviously complaining, like, oh, more hate the fucking mosquitoes, which obviously leads to Richie doing obviously one of many rude jokes we get to see in this first bit of the movie, and later on in the movie, when obviously she smacks the mosquito against her ass, and he's like, oh, did that again. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, yeah, you want that?
Weird, daddy kink kind of conversation. It was really weird. Daddy likes it. Oh, daddy like that. Oh, no.
It's quite obviously funny now because obviously Jason's got this obviously mommy link, and yet they're making obviously daddy jokes. But she does have a better joke later on, which obviously I'll point out, which I did fucking just piss myself laughing when she says it. But yeah, anyway, so obviously, yeah, the group head off the main trail thanks to Wade's GPS saying, oh, she should go this way, but they're pretty much sort of lost, and obviously him and Richie have this little argument of, we're clearly lost. And they're clearly hinting at what they're there for, which is weed. Which they then obviously fully say, oh, the batch of weed's going to be around here somewhere.
They're here for the that stash of marijuana.
Yep. Like the Shaggy we're smoking later on. But yeah, Mike comes over to him and says, there's an area over here we can camp for the night, let's go and just do that. And they're like, okay, let's just go and camp. And obviously we then cut to them at this campfire, all getting ready and that. Wade comes back and he's like, oh, I found this bunch of empty cabins down there. It must be the old campground. And he obviously begins to tell them the story of Pamela, obviously what we witnessed at the start, and puts into detail of she killed all the counsellors, went crazy because of obviously her son's death, and then she got beheaded. And he's like, oh, and by the way, Jason is still out there, no one's ever found him. And they're like, shut up, it's all bullshit. And he's like, okay, I understand, Billy, man. And he just sits back down and starts just muttering to himself. And they start obviously on about, this is Camp Crystal Lake, and he's like, oh, do you know how many lakes are called Crystal? And he starts like on about, if you go to this shop, you'll see loads of like on the bottles of water. And he obviously makes a joke of like referencing like another bottle of water, which obviously doesn't have Crystal in the name, and he goes, shut up. So obviously there's a lot of banter between these two, which is quite humorous at times. And this obviously leads to Mike and Whitney walking away from the others, so they can have obviously a discussion. And Rich, they're on about drinking piss, weren't they? That's what led them to leave. They're saying, oh, your piss is sterile, you can drink all that piss. And Amanda's like, oh, one was pointing out here, you're never drinking my piss. And he goes, well, you never know. And the joke of oh, if we were stuck out here stranded and whatnot, we couldn't get any food because I'll eat your leg, Wade. And he's like, why'd you eat my leg? He goes, I can teach you how to fish. He's like, oh, I don't eat fish. And then fucking Amanda does that joke of, it's not what he told me.
It's strange to see them to interact a lot. To be honest, like, it's just like a horror film. Like, I'm expecting like to be quite tense, and you got them like basically making weird like sex phrases to each other and talking all the innuendos and stuff. It's like, yeah, this is not very killing I'm expecting.
Right, this is building.
And then it goes.
See, I do like the fact that they do build up these sort of characters, even though these are obviously not the main characters. I do like to give them a trait
because they actually build them up. There, it does make you think they are the actual
main group of characters.
And then of course
there is part 3 to come. But yeah, anyway, so obviously away from camp, Whitney's obviously talking about her mom to fucking forgot his name already. What's his fucking Mike? That's
Mike.
It.
Yeah.
Let's think of the guy from fucking Stranger Things, Tom. Think of the guy from Stranger Things. But yeah. They're obviously giving a bit more of her backstory here. So obviously she's clearly caring for her mom, which obviously explained a bit more later on. And Mike's like, oh, your mom's the one that's told me to get you out of there. The nurses have got her, she's fine. He's like, oh, come to the woods, come camping, have sex with your boyfriend, you know. And obviously they laugh and then wander off before we cut back to Richie silently speaking to Amanda while Wade talks about the weed being nearby. But Richie doesn't care about the weed as Amanda's begins to remove her top. And then her bras start oiling herself up in front of him. It's his reaction. He's like, go on, go on, go on. And then Wade's just still sitting there, muttering on of, I'm an idiot. It's right by us. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. And it carries on for a little bit before, obviously, Richie's like, just wait, bugger up a minute. And then the fucking bra lands on his shoulder and Wade's like, hey, Richie, good pal, I'm going to take a walk. And obviously, gets up and has a little wander off, which obviously leads them to sort of run off back into the tent. Before we cut to Wade's walk, where he's listening to fucking Sister Kristen. And he eventually stops for a piss, which leads him to finding the weed.
Yeah, it does.
And a bag-headed Jason, played by Derek Mears, standing within the bush.
He's not the only one who's found the weed.
Hey, that's my weed, boy. Oh, no! And then fucking, obviously, Wade starts falling over, starts crawling backwards, and Jason just runs at him as he's fucking screaming, no, no, no. But it cuts as he swings to an off-screen kill, which, off-screen kills aren't the best, but it's sold by, obviously, his fear of he's pretty much fucked now.
Like, you actually do feel like he's a fit, you can feel it looks real, the way his actual acting's pretty good.
But anyway, so obviously, we cut back to Whitney and Mike, who find Camp Crystal Lake. We begin to explore the cabins. They find just a lot of rundown stuff. The councillor's old whistles, a little necklace of a woman's image in it that Mike says, "Oh, it looks like you, Whitney." And she says, "Shut up." It's, it's totally not Mrs. Voorhees, and they're totally not doing a spin on the plot point of part 2.
They're totally not setting that up, are they, at all? Totally not making it so she looks like his mom, so that he doesn't kill her. Totally not that.
But yeah, anyway, so they find the bed with the name Jason on it, and remember the story Wade told them. Talking of the others, we go and see another bit of exploring going on between Richie and Amanda, because they're
exploring their bodies.
They're currently pounding each other, but it's cut short when she hears a noise and believes that Wade is watching them. He doesn't care. He's like, "Oh, let the jerk watch." And it's like, "I care," and he's like, "Okay, fair enough." And so he opens the tent and starts yelling out. He's like, "You stop whacking one off over us, please. It's weird." And he gets back and he's like, let's go again. And they do go again. They don't just stop there. They do go again for a few more seconds before another fucking noise catches them up. And she's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna go fucking find out what it is. You're gonna go beat him up or whatever." And he's like, "I got a boner." She's like, "Well, you're not getting me if you don't." He's like, "Fine." So, she makes him run off into the woods with an erection.
Like the first time he goes there, you think something's gonna happen, and it doesn't. So like your second time, like, not again. And then of course,
he runs off into the woods, and obviously she sort of pokes her head at a tent because she hears like creaking and like snapping at twigs, and she thinks obviously Richie's just pranking her. I think she's teamed up with fucking Wade, and they're obviously having a little joke and whatnot. But obviously he's not, so she puts the tent zipper back there and he sits back and hides. But obviously while Richie's walking, he obviously stumbles across the weed. So it's clearly not him fucking with her, like he was just. But he finds the weed. He's like, "Oh, cool." He obviously finds the glow stick, some blood. Oh no, there's Wade with his ear cut off.
Glow stick, blood, a body, more weed.
I wonder why specifically his ear was cut off though.
A
bit of a weird way to kill someone. "Hey, I don't like your music choice, boy." My ear.
So what's that? You look like Spock. Well, tough.
And obviously he gets really freaked out now because obviously he's just found Wade's dead.
Dead fucking body. You'd be creeped out a little bit, just a little bit.
As obviously back at the tent, Amanda obviously sits back until the shadow of Jason just stands up behind and slashes the tent open before dragging her out. And Richie charges back to the camp. Obviously by this point that the beats kicked in. That didn't.
Yeah.
And obviously he gets back, sees her hanging inside a fucking sleeping bag above a fucking fire.
Yeah. She's been fucking roasted alive.
The one that played literally the most brutalist kill in the franchise.
It's pure torture.
In the extended version, they extend that scene so it's even more torturous.
Really?
They show more of inside the sleeping bag of her burning.
Wow.
They obviously drag it out more than they're doing this because it's not as drawn out as much. Because a lot of times it obviously focuses on Richie, who managed to run into a bear trap, and he's there watching her burn alive. And obviously she does, the sleeping bag splits and she falls out dead. And obviously we have to then cut back to Whitney and Mike, who find another room. And Mike obviously thinks there's a doll behind its little wall, puts his hand in. Oh, what's this? He pulls out Mrs. Voorhees' head.
It's a head.
It's not as cool as the old Jason. Yeah, the whole shrine that's in the actual game as well. But, it's an interesting spin on it that he just shoved it in a wall. But obviously a noise outside because the door slams, doesn't it? And they're like, oh, what the hell's that? And Whitney's like, oh, something outside. So obviously Mike goes low to look underneath the little crack in the door. But then a machete comes up and begins to stab upwards multiple times into his hands and feet.
Yeah.
Whitney's managed to get into the bath and he's trying to get in the bath with her, but Jason just fucking bursts out with a wood blow, starts grabbing him, stabbing at him, begins to drag him under. He's coughing up blood by this point.
Oh yeah, horrible.
And his final words are just run. As he's dragged under, and obviously he's killed again, another off-screen death, which you don't see in this version, but in the extended version, there's a scene later on where she runs and she actually just finds his body underground eventually. She finds his corpse sort of rottenish, because obviously it's been there a little while. Obviously she runs off. Jason comes out of the fucking hole all menacing and begins to follow after her.
He runs after her.
Yeah, he just charges. She makes it obviously to the camp at this point, where she runs to the body of Amanda. As Richie's there just screaming at her, so she runs to him, begins to try and help him out this bear trap. She starts prying at it, it's not even opening. And then he just looks up to see Jason charging and just lodges the machete straight in his head. Which, as I said to you before recording the extended version, he's not running straight away, he's staring him at first before running, which is quite more scarier. And he just puts the boot to his face and rips the machete out, which in the behind the scenes, he actually did put the boot to his face.
Did it?
There's a whole lot behind the scenes of how they did all the kills. It's really good to watch how they do it. But yeah, she's obviously screaming now, Whitney. She's crawling away. Yeah. Jason just charges at her and swings his machete towards her before we cut to black. And finally, get the title, Friday the 13th. This actually appears after 23 minutes and 6-7 seconds, roughly.
Jeez.
As I said, the extended version, I do think it's just a bit later than that, because obviously they extended some of the kills earlier on. I think it's like between that. I think it's between that and like that time. Yeah, I'm not too 100% sure on that. The fact that this is the actual fucking opening. So we had part 1 at the start. We had 20 minutes of fucking part 2, and I do really enjoy this as the opening. As you say, it tricks you into thinking these are the characters you're going to focus on. These are already
they start all fucking dying, and it's really confusing. You're like, what?
Exactly. As soon as it comes to Friday the 13th, you're like, wait, what? And then obviously the fucking theme song kicks over that. Yeah. And you're like, what?
At first I was like, that's a pretty quick film.
It's like the end title, because sometimes the titles come at the end, don't they?
Yeah.
It's not one of those movies. Oh, 20 minutes. That's an easy enough review to do.
5 minutes long. Bish bash bosh.
Yeah, it's just like a fucking proper like con artist. It tricks you into believing for 20 minutes that this is your movie characters. But I really enjoyed that. That really sells this film for me. It's like a proper trick, which I do really like.
And then we get the 6 weeks later.
Yeah, then obviously we cut to the present timeline, which we join our new group, which is Jenna, played by Dana Pennebaker, Trent, played by Travis Van Winkle, Chewie, played by Aaron Yu, who was in The Tomorrow People. That's for you, Hayden.
Yep.
Brie, played by Julian Guil. I don't know how you pronounce that. Guill. I don't know how you pronounce that, but anyway, so Lawrence, played by Arian. Here we go again. Escobar. I don't know. He was in the 5th fucking Final Destination movie. That's all I know. Nolan, played by Ryan Hansen, and Chelsea, played by Willa Ford. And obviously, they arrive at a gas station where Trent asks Lawrence to fill the gas up, which leads to a sort of racial thing where he's like, "Oh, you're going to make the only black guy fill up the tank." He's like, okay then. Nolan, you fill it up. And he's like, "Oh, I can do that." And he's like, "Let's give a wicked job." And he's like, "We should try that later." It pretty much instantly points out that Trent's a sort of arsehole character. But I've noticed, obviously, the characters. You obviously got Trent, who's the arsehole. You got Brie, who's sort of like an arsehole-ish character for the fact that she takes any opportunity to get with Trent.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got Jenna, who's the nice character. You got Chewie, who's obviously the nerdy stoner character. You got obviously Lawrence, who's a sort of stoner, but sort of good guy as well towards the end for a certain scene. And then you got Nolan and Chelsea who just they're not really have their traits. They're sort of on the fence of traits. They're not really arsey. They're not really nice.
They're more like the bland character.
They're more of the ones that are just there just to be bodies on the count.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much like their sort of traits. So you get used to them straight away. Obviously, they head off inside. Obviously, where they're buying stuff, they meet Clay, played by Jared Padalecki.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to find his sister Whitney from the beginning, because obviously Whitney's last name is Miller.
Yeah.
And he wants to put up a flyer in obviously the window, but the cashier's like, "Oh, I would in a heartbeat, but the owner won't let me." He does that weird like he's like, "Erp."
Is that sort of... I would, but no.
It's just that weird, like, sort of fart sort of noise. But yeah, so he's like, okay. And it obviously leads to an argument between Clay and Trent, because Clay's like, oh, you've been up here for ages, even though he's been there like 5 seconds. He's like, oh, you've been up here for ages, mate. He's like, okay. And he steps back, he's like, oh, I'm an asshole then. And obviously that leads to a sort of little argument, which is obviously going to come into play later on. And they head off outside. Obviously, you get this apology on the way out from Jenna, which obviously points she's the nice character, when she's pretty much apologising for Trent's reaction to Clay. And obviously, they head off, and Clay watches on as the car drives away with the fucking flyer that is wedged into the back fucking window wiper.
Yeah, it is.
He's like, yep. And this obviously puts his bike on, heads off, but he's quickly pulled over by Officer Brackett. I don't know how you pronounce that.
B.
Officer B, we'll call him, yeah.
Yeah.
And he obviously tells them that he's got his best veteran officers on this, and that they found nothing regarding his sister or any of the other kids missing. He calls them kids even though they're not kids.
Yeah, they're not.
And he's like, there's nothing there. And Clay's like, you know, my mum passed away recently of cancer. And he's like, I did not know that, no sir. And it's like, yeah, so she would not just run away because she was obviously always there for her. And he's obviously, like, his theory was that she ran away with a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And obviously Clay's like, no, she wouldn't, because she would have been there for the funeral. She would never have missed it. And obviously then we cut back to the group as they arrive at Trent's big house, which is the opposite side to Camp Crystal Lake. Because, you know, having your house opposite to a murderous place is something. They find the flyer, Trent screws it up and chucks it away. And they complain about there's no phone signal, which angers Lawrence. He wants to do his business because he's starting his own music label, which leads to again another sort of racial moment when Brie asks the music choice. He's like, "Oh, is it rap?" And he's like, "Why's it got to be a race thing with you?" He goes, "Kind of." What does he say? Something like, I like this other type of music. I can't remember the music.
Is it country or
something like that? And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, that's my bad." She's like, "What kind of music is it?" And he's like, "Rap," and just walks away laughing. And the way he turns, it's like what you think is like this really sort of serious sort of racial moment. It's just a joke in a sense, and he's pretty much fucking with her. And he's like, "Oh, you ass."
It's like In Betweeners, that scene when Jay and Neil are trying to buy weed, and after they go to the black guy, and he's like, "Why are you why did you car selling weed? Oh, we saw you selling drugs because I'm black. No, we saw you selling drugs." And it's like, why are you white boys got like this? And he's like, you do sell drugs, right? Yeah, I do, but that's not the point. It's like that.
It's pretty much exactly like that. But obviously then we cut straight back to them heading inside, getting settled in, before we join Clay again, who's arrived at his house where he meets an old lady and her dog. And he obviously questions her about Whitney and the others. And she's like, "Oh, they ain't missing. They're dead." "What?" "They're all dead." And she's like, whoever heads into those woods never comes back. It's like, we just want to be left alone. He just wants to be left alone. But before, obviously, Clay can question who's he, she obviously shuts the door and walks away. And he's like, okay. And obviously, then
basically, it's a pronoun game, really. And you see in most films where they go like, he didn't like that. Who's he? I'm not going to say.
Exactly, pretty much like that. Obviously, then we cut back to the group as they're playing that game where you have to shake one can, put it with the rest, and try and hope you don't get it. I don't know what the actual game's called. I just call it Shake the Can. And obviously, Trent complains when fucking Chewie cracks one, it bursts everywhere. He's like, "Oh, watch the floor." and he then heads outside to badly seduce Jenna, really badly, and Lisa just walking away. He's like, "Can you get me a beer?" Because yes, Trent's an asshole.
Very much is. And very much is.
We then cut back to Clay again, who arrives at his next stop, and it's like a barn where inside a guy called Donnie who's cutting up some wood. Clay scares him. Donnie turns around that very rednecky voice of,
"It's really bad, like."
What are you doing? What are you doing, Stretch? I was this close to it. In the whoop ash machine.
Like, fucking looking there, Stretch, boy. I was about to kill us some whoop ash machine there.
It's funny as well because he also appeared in another Platinum Dunes horror remake, which I watched the other day, which is the Hitcher, which starred the always dying Sean Bean. And he played sort of a very similar sort of character, but not as rednecky. He was like a gas station attendant. I was like, wait, that guy looks familiar, and it's because he was in that film.
Doesn't this guy fuck a mannequin?
Yep, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, obviously Donnie states that someone's been stealing things from him, obviously hinting at what Jason's been up to in the woods, because he's been stealing gasoline, which obviously explains the lights later on. And Clay shows him the flyer, and he's like, "Have you seen her?" He's like, "Nah, but I wish I did." I mean, no, I haven't seen her. And he's like, "Okay then." As he walks away, he's like, "Oh, want to buy some weed?" Because I found like a massive bunch out there. We should obviously hint at this. It's the same stash that Wade found.
Yeah.
So the question is, whose is it? It's not his, because he said he found it. And it's not Wade's, because they found it as well. Whose the fuck is it? Is it Jason's?
Yeah,
is he growing his own farm? That's why he's going crazy. He's protecting it.
He's not like an actual like crazy supernatural being. He's just high.
He's just trying to.
High as fuck.
Wait, is this just Shaggy or grown up?
It is, yeah. That's why he wore a mask. Because if he actually looked at his face, they would die of like pure like awe at the shagginess.
God. Talking of anything, shagging wise, we'll get back to that group. So, obviously, back to the group. Jenna speaks to Trent about why he brought the others with him, and it's just like, you don't even trust them, so why'd you bring them up here? And it's obviously interrupted by Noah and Chelsea, who want to go for just want to have a walk around, and Trent's like, "Oh no, you can take my car because I trust you," because he's just pretty much just still trying to get in Jenna's pants. And they go to take the car, and he's like, "Oh, if you're taking the car, do me a favour, take the gas to the dock and fill up the boat." He goes, "But don't drive the boat." And I go, "Oh, okay." So obviously they're not going to drive the boat.
Nah.
And obviously they head off, and the other two headed back inside, where Clay arrives, and he's invited in by Jenna because again she's a nice character. He offers the drink. He's like, "Oh, I want your boyfriend be annoyed." He's just like, "Oh, ignore him." And he heads inside, and at the time, fucking Bree's filming, which obviously hinted there's a camera there for a certain scene later on. And as she's filming, she's like, "Oh, this should be good," because she knows what's going to happen now. Because obviously Trent confronts Clay, and they get obviously into his face. He's like, "Oh, you don't really want to piss me off." And Clay's like, "Oh, what are you going to do? Are you? What's going to happen when you get pissed off?" And eventually, he heads off out, and Jenna follows him. And Bree takes this opportunity, one of two opportunities, to try and get with Trent as she offers him a beer. But talking of offers, Jenna offers to go with Clay to Crystal Lake. Because the opposite side is the only place he hasn't checked at the lake. So she's like, "Oh, do you want some company?" He's like, "I'd love it." And they head off. And here's the scene you were on about. So we followed Donnie, who's returned to the barn, and he's obviously got a bag with him. And as he sits down inside, we realise obviously the bag was full of weed because starts smoking some, and he hears a noise. So, sorry, he was reading a dirty magazine. I'll put that in there first. He was reading a dirty magazine while smoking weed. So we go from a trucker having a shit while reading a dirty magazine to a hillbilly smoking weed and reading a dirty magazine.
What's next? We'll see in The Shining, a little kid smoking weed while wearing a ball mag.
But yeah, so obviously he hears noise, gets his attention, so he gets up, starts slowly approaching what looks like a person under a sheet. But as he pulls the shit aside, he pretty much finds this mannequin, which I'm going to say, with his dialogue choices, it sounds like he's fuck mannequin. Because, redneck characters. What are they like? Because he pretty much like, do you remember when you took my virginity? What was it? Something like, are you still as tight as you was then? But this is all interrupted because he hears like a creak behind him. And he turns around to see Jason behind him. And obviously the two getting a little struggle.
Yeah, because Jason. Because Jason's creeped out by this weirdo who's just shagging like, mannequins.
You stole my weed. And you fucking a mannequin. You're a freak. And obviously, Donnie ends up pulling his bag head off to reveal the incredible makeup design of Jason's face.
Oh yeah.
And
I don't want him to come around and kill me, but man, he ugly.
He even says it, doesn't he? That shit's not right.
It's fucking right, dude.
Jason just gets angry, pulls a machete, and just slits his throat with one swing. And again, some more good blood effects as the throat just starts pouring of blood, and Donnie just collapses dead. Obviously, Jason then approaches his mask, picks it up, starts putting his finger through his eye hole, and then looks at a sheet behind him.
What's this? What's this totally iconic looking mask here?
He sees his obviously replacement, confirming that this part of the movie is technically Friday the 13th Part 3. As Jason then masks up with the iconic hockey mask while posing in the mirror.
It's like, yes, I feel good.
Imagine doing like a photo shoot in front of me going, "You work it, babe."
You girl, you're a tiger.
What's with the tiger? What was with the pirate at the end?
I don't know. In my head, I was thinking Austin Powers.
But then it didn't
go Austin Powers at all.
Oh God. Anyway, yeah.
Show me a tiger.
Anyway, we rejoin Nolan and Chelsea as they debate about taking the boat. Because during the scene when you actually saw him in the car, that he was like, "Oh, did he not think as soon as he was saying don't take the boat that I was actually not going to take the boat?" And eventually, obviously, they agreed to take the boat. Before we cut back to Jenna and Clay, who speak about, well, call him an asshole because Trent's an asshole in general anyway, so it's only fair that you be an asshole towards him.
That's very true.
But yeah, anyway, so Jenna and Clay that keep walking, talking more, giving more backstory to both him and Whitney, and till they're probably stopped by the fact that Clay, ignore me, mine keeps going blank. Clay finds Wade's GPS on the floor, and he's like, okay. And then we cut back to Nolan driving the boat while Chelsea, topless at this moment, begins to water ski.
For reasons.
I think Michael Bay walked at the premiere of this movie because he hated the fact there was so much nudity. I just find that funny. That he walked out.
Disgusted by it.
Exactly.
Michael fucking Bay.
But yeah, anyway, so obviously they're having this little skiing moment, having a little fun. Laugh, before we obviously cut back to the house where the other four are playing beer pong. And since Chew won, the loser, which is Trent, must shoot that boot, he calls it, which is drinking from his shoe. And he's like, I ain't doing that. And he's like, okay then. And he just drinks it himself, Chewie does, screaming that they're all pussies. Because, he's got dirty ass sneakers, I think Trent calls them.
Yeah.
And he says those are dirty ass sneakers, I ain't drinking from that. But Chewie doesn't give a shit, and he just downs it in one. And then, we then cut back to the other two as they're still fucking jet skiing. And they're, just skiing, not jet skiing.
Boat skiing.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not a rich guy who owns a boat, so I don't fucking know. But anyway, Chelsea eventually falls off, and Nolan's obviously still laughing his head off, so he turns the boat around to go and rescue her, and then gets an arrow through the back of the fucking head.
Oh yeah, he really gets his.
It's that like when he's like woohoo, and then it just goes and he just turns. It's that little turn as well. It's that little turn he does towards the boat. The land. He's like, dunk, lands straight on the throttle. Obviously, Chelsea in the water doesn't see him land the arrow or him landing on the throttle, and she starts calling him. He's like, slow down, but he doesn't, and he just smashes straight against the head, cuts the head all open. Yep, doesn't die. It just cuts the head open, and she's they're trying to keep afloat as she swims towards the land. She spots Jason watching her.
Like, hi. And she's like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, she starts swimming away. He pulls his machete out. And we then obviously showing really quickly that Clay and Jenna have made it to the camp now. But, we aren't done with Chelsea, who's made it to the docks. And she's using that as the way to hide from Jason. Yeah, trying not to speak or anything. You know, she thinks he's safe because he's just walked away.
He
But
walks away. He's nothing's going to happen now. Stab.
yeah, machete straight for the fucking center of the brain. Lifts her up to get some more nudity.
Obviously, because
more blood effects.
Why not?
And she's there for a few seconds before dropping back into the water because she's dead. We then obviously fully rejoin Clay and Jenna, who have checked out a few of the cabins and head into the final one before they head back. They search around, find old crap once again. Jenna breaks a floorboard, find an old doll. Well, okay, let's get out of here. So they head off. And Clay's torch dies as they start heading off. He's like, oh, I need to change the battery. So he stops, gets the bag out, starts to change the battery. But, oh, someone's approaching. Quickly hides underneath the canoes. And they watch on as, Jason is approaching with Donnie over his shoulder now. Because as soon as he drops the corpse, you see a headless Donnie. Because he's clearly cut his head off now.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Maybe he's still. Maybe when he slit his throat, maybe he's still just about breathing, so he just cut his head off completely to make sure. Yeah, you got to double tap.
That's true.
I know those zombies coming back after us.
Never.
Yeah.
Never trust zombies.
He finds Clay's bag on the floor because he stupidly left it on the floor instead of taking it with him. And obviously he gets really angry, runs off, turns on his lights because he's really tactical now. All the lights come on in the camp, which is obviously where the gas has been going to fuel these up. And he goes back to the canoes, starts pouring them all off this rack. But there's no one there because they've already moved to another hiding spot. Obviously, Jason eventually says, fuck this, I'm leaving. And does, he pretty much just leaves. And since he obviously had a dead body over his shoulder, which he just put back on his shoulder and walked off, the other two decide to run away. Because they're bodies, man.
Yeah.
And on the way, Jenna trips over a tripwire, which dings a little bell underground. And we finally reveal that Whitney's still alive.
She's alive in this weird tunnel system that he's come up with. Which obviously in the original films, he was like supernaturally fast and would end up like teleporting to places, which is obviously in the games. That's what he does. But obviously in this one, it's more of just tunnels.
Yeah, he's got tunnels underneath the whole camp. And obviously the first one as well, his home in the original was just like a little shack in the middle of the woods. Whereas this one, it's obviously in underground fucking tunnels where he's living. But yeah,
it makes more sense.
Pretty much it does. It makes sense because this is not, even though it gets a bit supernatural at the end.
Yeah,
it's not really supernatural Jason. It's straight up a guy with a mask that's murdering people.
This is more like the precursor to supernatural Jason.
Yeah, it's pretty much kind of like part 2s and part 3 sort of Jason, which weren't fully supernatural. They were just normal killers, pretty much. But anywho, so they've run off, found the tripwire. She's on the ground. Oh, she's there. She starts to scream for help, but they can't hear her, so they run off. And she stops when Jason obviously returns with the body. He throws the bag in her direction before walking off with the corpse. She, of course, goes to the bag and finds the poster. This is a scene that's a bit later on in the extended version.
Oh, is it?
This scene doesn't happen at this point in the extended. It happens a bit later on.
Oh.
I think he throws the bag in that version, but she doesn't go for it straight away. She gets it later on. But yeah, she obviously searches through it, finds the posters, realises Clay's up there, then searches through more and manages to find the GPS, which she breaks to get a small piece of metal to undo her cuffs. But before she can, Jason, pops up right in front of her. It's that tense moment of, is he going to come? Is he going to come? Boom, he's there. And obviously he grabs her, and it's revealed that she's wearing the necklace she found earlier on. And she calls him by his name, which causes him to walk away with his new theme playing over as he begins to go after Clay and Jenna. Because even though he doesn't venture across to the other side, he's gonna this time. He knows where they're going. He's gonna finish them off. No one comes to Jason's home and fucks around. Back with the rest of the group.
Yeah,
they sit back and watch Bree doing some seductive dancing. Which obviously leads to Chewie saying he wants to come back as a button on her shorts. But yeah, eventually Lawrence convinced him to go and speak to her. Lights his drink on fire, sends him over. As he approaches, he toasts with her, which obviously angers Trent because, fire, you're going to fucking burn the place down. She obviously convinced him to drink it by, doing some really more seductive techniques before blowing out the fire. And so you put it against your lips and burns his lips because it's a fucking hot glass. He falls backwards, smashes open a chair, which obviously is like a family heirloom for Trent. He's like, oh, I can fix it. And then just call him the wood boozer because he masturbates a lot. And obviously, he sends him off to the shed outside to go and get the tools. And as he does, Bree takes another opportunity now to actually fully get Trent into the bedroom.
Which, he goes with.
Yep.
Because,
asshole. Yep. And obviously, we get a cut to Chewie, who actually gets to the shed fine. He's not harmed, searches around, finds some expensive booze, starts to drink it, before we cut back to the bedroom where the two begin to, get it on with some very porn-like dialogue. Those tits are stupendous.
So yeah, it was awful.
That nipple placement is amazing. It's straight up like porn dialogue.
And the weird faces he pulls, like the weird like mouth move everything he does is weird.
It's like watching porn, basically.
It's just off-putting, to be honest.
It's more there for humour, I think, more than it's there for to show the nudity, but it's there more for like really. Actually, this is like really cringy, but it's still funny at the same time. But it's more there for nudity, because
shadows.
You had two bits of it already, and you'll have a third part. You had one in part 2. You had a bit earlier. You need a bit now because we're coming up to part 4 now. And obviously, while this is all going on, while they're making sweet, sweet love, Lawrence takes the opportunity to try and, after a bit of a smoky of the bong, he decides to try and also masturbate. And, he goes for the books. He's trying to find something. He's in the fucking winter catalogue. Finds this really covered up woman in like a very like winter-esque outfit. And he's like, that'll do. He tries to, looks up at the fucking deer, just turns around. He's like, nah, I'm not looking at that. Fuck that. And, but before he can do anything, fucking playing Jenna come back and tell him about the killer. And he's like, you fucking me wrong, 'cause I'm high. And they're like, no, where's the phone? So Clay runs off to make a call, and Jenna's like, where's everyone? And he points at Chelsea, no one left earlier, have yet to come back. And he's like, okay, where's Trent? And he's like, oh, they're in the bedroom. Which obviously leads to the cut back to the bedroom where we watched Bree use the camera earlier, film Trent. And he's like, oh, that better not make it on the internet. And that's still banging. Again, more porn dialogue. And at this point, Jenna's obviously right telling them to get out. Something's happening, and he's just like, get lost, we're busy. And obviously, eventually, then we cut back to Chewie, who's, got his hockey stick now. Starts having a little fun until he smashes her light, obviously. And he starts trying to clean it up, picks up a piece of glass, and there's Jason standing behind him.
Oh, he's totally fine,
Oh, you want my hocky stick? It completes your outfit. I just love that joke. It's like, it completes your outfit. He clearly stoned out of his mind.
Oh, yeah. It would have been funny if you left him alive.
He just wandered off and started playing hockey outside.
He's like, cheers, mate. This entire time, that's what he's been after.
He's on the hockey stick.
He's been killing people because he's trying to find his hockey stick for his costume.
But yeah, he doesn't want it. Sort of slightly just budges Chewie, who falls to the ground. He sort of backs up until Jason just begins to attack him by slamming him into this wall. And, Chewie gets the opportunity to fight back as he takes a screwdriver and tries to wedge it into Jason, but
which obviously gets turned in.
Yeah, Jason's so strong that he just grabs his arm and just turns the screwdriver and just slowly lodges it into his neck. Like, literally, you look at the old ones, he would have just fucking rammed it into his neck, but this one just slowly... He doesn't even stop. This guy's clearly dead already, and he just keeps going and going until...
Yeah, this one's more sadistic.
Until obviously the screwdriver's wedged fully in and just drops him. He's like, stands there just watching. And he's like, shit, this guy's a fucking psychopath. Obviously, then we... well, to be fair, I was going to say that so far, the kills, they're just nailing them. Even though, obviously, there's no pun intended, by the way.
It was. Don't lie.
Even obviously, we had the off-screen kill with the first one, and obviously the guy in the getting dragged under. We still got to see some sort of after effect or the kill itself going on before it fully was killed. I do think so far the kills are just superb. They're doing really well. This fucking makeup department, the effects department, whatever the fuck department's doing this, they're doing really well so far. But yeah, we then cut to Jason, who's now watching the sex unfold.
As you do.
He's a peeping Jason. And so, little fact here, in the extended version, obviously I said to you earlier, we see Whitney escape, so this is where she goes through the bag, gets the GPS, and actually does unlock herself and run off. and she actually does make it to the house, and she goes to this window for help when they're obviously doing it. But before she gets there, Jason just grabs her and drags her off screen, which then leads to him standing there watching them, because it's sort of like he gets her, takes her back real quick, and then comes back. But obviously, it makes sense for her not to escape, because obviously he's got to go after some other people in there, so there's no chance in hell he's going to get from point A to point B so quick, unless there is tunnels under this house as well, which I don't think there is. I think it's only on the other side of the island, the lake, there's tunnels. So it just makes sense that why he got cut, and that's obviously why in the extended version they fucking extended the sex scene more, just so they can fucking show this scene happening, because they needed to fucking extend the scene. But yeah, anyway, so obviously he wanders off, and then we cut back to this version, and the lights go out. And obviously Trent heads down to say what the hell's going on with the lights, and starts yelling at Clay because he's being here. So they both sort of square up again, but he's stopped by Jenna getting between them, and then Lawrence grabs a wok of all weapons to grab, and heads off to go and get Chewie, because he's his boy, he's his mate.
Yeah. He's gonna go get him.
And obviously he heads off to the shed. Again, makes it the shed unharmed. It's perfectly fine. Yeah. Gets inside the shed. Has it a look around.
Hey, Logan Paul, did you see anything?
For fuck's sake. But yeah, he heads inside, looks around, finds the glass on the floor, finds some blood in the freezer, lifts the freezer up, there's nothing in there. And then a body comes dangling down from above. Because, once again, they fucking conjure with a kill and make you think it's going to happen, and oh no, here it is. And obviously he starts getting really scared, starts backing up, and then backs straight up to Jason. The two have a little squabble. Lawrence eventually manages to lodge, like, I think it's the screwdriver again or something, into Jason's leg.
His knee, like his leg knee.
And you even hear Jason go, "Ugh!" Like really grunty, drops to the ground. And obviously this opportunity now Lawrence's to escape, so he does, he bolts off. But as he's running to the house screaming for help, Jason just pulls an axe from a tree stump and just fucking
goes 4 on his ass.
Fucking yeets it into his back. And the irony of him then landing into a fucking pile of fucking logs is ironic.
Yeah.
Because wood axe. Wood. Ha, funny. But obviously
those are jokes.
Yeah, pretty much. Obviously they all think he's still alive because he can hear him screaming, so they're like, oh, we're going to help him, but Clay's like, no, he's using him as bait. And they're like, you don't know that. And obviously this Breeze sort of just like, what, is someone going to do anything? She starts screaming, obviously just shut up. As she's doing it, fucking Lawrence just getting picked up, turn around and just slammed into the ground with the axe now piercing through the front of his body. And now Lawrence is dead.
That bit of the scene, because it's basically that moral dilemma of,
do you help?
Do we go help him, risk getting killed, or leave him and try and help ourselves?
Literally, Jason is just straight up just tricking them to try and see if he can get them out. But obviously, you got the smart character in Clay, just like, no, he knows what he's doing. He's baiting us out there. And they're like, okay, shit. So obviously, by this point, Trent looks out the window, and Jason takes a little note from Michael from the 2007 reboot and stands above the fucking protagonist on the roof, looking down a really cool looking shot again.
With Batman's powers.
Oh, Batman. And obviously Trent takes the opportunity then to run upstairs and grab a gun, which she quickly loads. But as Bree chases, she ends up in the bathroom. For some weird reason, she ends up in there.
Let's hope she's alone.
Yeah. So there's a shower curtain. No, there's no one behind the shower curtain. Pulls it across. Oh, there's no one behind it. As she pulls the curtain across, there's no one behind it because Jason is behind her. He just grabs her. That's covering the mouth, and you look at it and you think, oh, he's just going to basically do the basic sort of neck snap or something. Or just smother her, which you've never seen before. Like, it's never been seen in like this franchise, him just smothering her to death. But no, he doesn't. He just, turns around and fucking slams her into basically some like deer antler sort of coat rack on the back of the door. And obviously this is heard by Trent, who for some reason thinks it's Jenna. Even though he heard Bree running up the stairs after him. He just goes, Jenna?
He's not the smartest person, though.
No, not at all. But obviously, instead of actually going to see what the fucking noise was, he turns around to see the cop car coming towards them. They all head up. They all see what's going on as fucking Officer Brack approaches the door. Starts knocking on the door. And, you know, he's fine. Cops are here.
Jason.
But yeah. Jason just drops down from above. Officer turns around with a fire poker straight through the fucking eyeball. And you have that rolling shot as it follows it through the fucking door.
Yeah, through the door. Oh.
It's sort of reminiscent of the fucking Texas Chainsaw when she shot herself and they have the camera dolly. It's sort of reminiscent of that type of fucking shot.
But instead, it tracks the actual poker going through the eye, through the actual door.
Again, the fucking
just narrowly missing Jenna.
The effects fucking department is just doing such a good job with this film.
Yeah, definitely.
Really good. I love the fact they went more like practical rather than like CGI. That's like a thumbs up for me if you go fucking practical killing rather than CGI killing. But yeah, obviously they're like, oh shit. Trent comes down. What's going on? And the cops are going. Oh no, sorry. They go up to Trent. He's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, the cop's dead. He's just killed him. And he sees like, a pair of shoes in the closet. Just instantly starts shooting. Even though they know Jason's outside, he still shoots the closet. Oh no, it's literally just a pair of empty shoes. And then a fucking thump behind him leads to Jenna saying, oh, there's someone behind that door. Oh, where's Bree? Bang, bang, bang. Oh no, he got Bree. She's dead.
Not like he's shot. He was pretty much just shooting Bree's body.
Pretty much. And obviously they all run off outside then because they're like, oh, should we get over here?
At least Bree only had a little bit of torture to her body.
Pretty much.
Nothing else going to happen next.
Nope, because they head outside. Trent gets in the cop car, starts trying to call for help on the radio. Clay realises, oh, my keys are gone out my bag because, you know, why have your keys in your bag in the first place? Put them in your fucking pocket, dingus. Obviously, as they're sort of doing this, Trent's literally shouting at Jenna.
It's raining bells.
Trent's just shouting at Jenna, let's just ditch this guy and just get out of here. But as you say, fucking Bree's body just comes flying out, smashes into the window, and Trent lets off the girliest fucking scream of all time.
So fucking shit. It's really weird.
Is it because how girly he was?
He was more like it was not what you'd expect, basically.
You'd expect this really sort of like slightly butcher scream, like, ah.
I think we were not more of a fucking.
I think it's sort of reminiscent of Part 5. Because in Part 5 is a kid who he has such a fucking girly scream when he sees the killer at the end, like proper fucking like girly scream. But then again, he's a kid, so. But I think it's sort of a lot of the stuff in this is sort of reminiscent of the older ones at times. So I'm pretty certain it's a fire poker killing like one of the old ones. I think it was Part 2. I'm sure there's a fire poker one. But yeah, obviously she lands on there, so they all run off. They end up splitting into fucking 2 groups. So fucking Clay and Jenna run off one way. Trent like way far behind them. Fucking
get killed.
Drops his gun in the water. Starts fucking trying to get it out, but then says fuck this and runs off. And he managed to actually flag down a car on the road. So, you know, car pulls over, slowly approaches, the hand comes out, telling him to hurry up.
You're like, who's in that fucking car?
Yeah, it's a remake. You've never seen Jason drive before, but he fucking could. You never know. And, you know, he slowly approaches.
He's very different.
Yeah, he does that weird thing where he puts his hand behind his back as if like to say, oh, I've got a gun behind my back. But no, he hasn't. Guy Poke said, hey, it's an actual normal guy. He's like, oh, okay. Guy shits himself because Jason's now standing behind Trent.
Oh, yeah.
Just fucking machete through the back, lifts him up. Again, extended version, they extend this scene so you see more like blood hitting the floor and everything. And they drag out the machete kill even more. So cause obviously this version is to stab, lift up, turns around, slams him on the back of the fucking car as it's driving away because there's spikes on the back. Obviously the body drives away, but as the extended version, stab, drags it, then pulls him off, puts him on the spike and it drives away. So it basically extends that little stab bit more rather than just like a quick, simple kill. Because, you know, the extended version likes to draw out the fucking kills even more. Because, you know, murdering people, am I right?
That's the best thing to do.
But yeah, obviously the body's fucking dragged away and now he's gone. Trent's dead. Yay! We're down to 3. And one's locked up still.
That's fine.
Jenna and Claire obviously they make it to the cabins because for some reason they ran off to the cabins. And they begin looking around, which causes Whitney to hear them. And she starts screaming, which they actually do hear this time. And they find Jason's hatch on the ground, so the 2 enter, and they eventually find Whitney all chained up. So now with the 2 siblings reunited, they uncuff her through Clay using a hammer to it, which he misses a few times. before eventually smashing it and breaking the chain. But as he does, Jason, just drops down, and you won't let them get away. So he starts like slowly walking away. So they're like, "We've got to get out of here now." So they run off, and he gets to the room, sees a gun, unsheathes his machete, and just badassly just runs through this fucking tunnel system because he ain't letting her go. Because pretty much it looks like his mom.
He got manners.
I say you got what's it?
Oedipus complex.
That's the one. Obviously, he charges after him, and they actually make it to like this hatch that's above them, so they try and open it. Won't open. Shit. They eventually find like this little way to squeeze through a bit further down, so they jump down. Player goes through first to see. It's fine. Gets Whitney through. Oh, come on, Jenna. Starts getting Jenna through, and you can only have one final girl.
Yeah.
Jenna goes through. She gets a machete through the back as well.
She unfortunately doesn't meet the
final girl standard.
What's the word am I thinking of?
What?
Muster? What? I don't know what I'm trying to say.
So we just carry on.
Roster. No. Yeah, just carry on. I don't know.
I'm
trying to think. I'm trying to think of the word.
If you randomly think of the word at any point, just let me know and just shout it out loud.
Yell it.
But yeah, obviously he pulls machete, throws her backwards with brute force, and tries to grab them. But obviously they manage to get away from him, and they obviously get up for this bus. I managed to climb through this thing into like a bus, which I think again is another reminiscence of part 6 because of the bus crash in that, which so that's kind of a sort of reminiscence to that, and it's on its side as well, ironically. They get out. Clay managed to eventually open the sliding doors, climbs out, but as he's trying to get Whitney out, Jason grabs him, drags him away, and one by one starts smashing his head through the fucking windows before Whitney ends up hiding. Jason just drops down to hunt for her, and it's just smart. I think she hides next to the hatch to make it look like she's gone down. So he approaches the hatch, has a little look down to see her, but he can't see anything. And then she just fucking kicks him straight in. And he sort of falls down slightly, but manages to stay up enough to sort of grab her leg every time she tries to run away. And after a few kicks, she manages to sort of get away from him. And well, Clay's not dead. He just ends up dragging her out of the bus. So the two, obviously being our last two, managed to run off again in the pouring down rain because it's now raining.
For reasons.
Yep, but not in like a Texas Chainsaw sort of. Oh, let's just plug the fucking Jessica Biel nudity in. Yeah, this is not done in that way at all. It's just in a normal. It's raining. Just make it menacing.
If it was, it'd be a little bit creepy because these are brother and sister.
Yeah. It's Michael Bay, who cares?
True. I don't know about you, but I think Michael Bay has a bit of Alabama essence to him.
But yeah,
I wouldn't put it past him.
They obviously make it to like the barn that Donnie was in earlier.
Obviously, a big obviously, that's sort of like a reference to the original Friday the 13th. Obviously, there's a barn that in there.
Yeah, in the third one, there's a whole barn scene in that, and the fifth one. But yeah, so they head into the barn. Clay tells Whitney to go and hide, so she does. He then gets the courage to walk around and grab like a weapon. But stupidly, he stands against a fucking window. And as he does, Jason just smashes through it, which again, another reference there for part 2's ending, where he smashes through a glass window. And it was also plugged in the trailer constantly. So he smashes through the window, grabs him, start having this little tussle. Clay managed to get himself loose after a few little stabbies. He managed to sort of get out. And then, again, another fucking reference here. He picks up a pickaxe, which obviously was Jason's, one of his choice weapons in part 2. And he takes a swing, misses. Goes for him again, misses. Jason sort of fights back enough, but Clay ends up fucking tackling him, like fully tackling, like rugby tackling into the wall. Again, Jason just turns it on him, smashes him back into the wall, which turns on the wood chipper from earlier. And Jason sort of got him around the neck, but Whitney comes, shows him the pendant on the image, and starts basically doing his mum's speech to get his attention, so he drops Clay. Again, paying fucking homage to part 2's ending. With obviously the jumper scene.
But this one didn't do the actual jumper because there's no need to.
Yeah, it was through the pendant this time. The fact there's an image. So obviously she starts doing that, and Clay takes this opportunity then to throw the chain around Jason's neck, while Whitney uses the other end of the chain to chuck into the wood chipper, which pulls him up and starts to choke him because he's now hanging. But he's a big guy; he's not gonna fucking take this, and the beam just snaps and drops him down. And he obviously takes the opportunity then again to fucking go back after them, but the chain's still in the chipper, so it's fucking just pulling him back until he can manage to lodge himself to stop himself from falling in. So he's there holding on, but Whitney then just pulls out his machete off the ground and just says to him,
"Hi to mommy."
In hell.
Yeah, that bit in the end, but that was unnecessary. The end bit was.
Yeah, he should say hi to mom. I think it's just because he's saying his mom's a bitch like him. So she obviously lodges the machete. His head then falls back into the fucking chipper and it starts to cut it up slightly, but not fully. And yeah, we then cut. Well, he doesn't. He shows you he doesn't cut it up properly. It sort of cuts away with him just staring with the blood coming out of his mask. And obviously, we then cut to the next morning where they dump his body in the lake, along with his mask because he needs his stuff.
Yeah, we've got to give his stuff back.
Yeah,
here's your locket.
Yeah, when he drops the locket in,
mask, your social security number.
Here's your credit. Oh no, I'll keep that. She drops obviously the pendant because she's sitting on the right hand side of the dock. Yeah. He's standing on the left, so she drops the pendant in. We have this shot of the pendant falling down to the bottom. We have the mask at the bottom, and it looks all over. She's there crying, all sad. Clay slowly approaches, and then Jason just bursts through the dock and grabs her as it cuts to black.
Because that's obviously a reference to the first film, wasn't it?
Yes, but obviously that was a boat, and he was a little kid in that one.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
It's still a reference, but it was also obviously setting up a part 2, which sadly never happened because logistics and shit.
But Michael Bay, we'll say Michael Bay.
No, well, interesting fact. Obviously, part 2 was on the table for quite some time, but eventually it got scrapped, and obviously it never happened. Sadly, obviously it's been 11 years, so it's probably not going to happen there. If they do one eventually, I'll probably reboot it fully.
A reboot.
Or a sequel to the original. I don't know. They fucking do whatever they want these days. But and another point is, at one point as well, I'm going back probably about 3 years, something like that. A more grounded version of Jason was going to appear in a Friday the 13th TV series, which was ironically going to be made by the CW. They were going to make a Friday the 13th TV series about a more grounded sort of Jason killing people, but again, apparently they had some issues with trying to get the story just right, so they scrapped it completely. And again, they did that with Lost Boys. They fucking made a TV remake script and they scrapped it because they didn't like it, but now they're doing it again. So you never know. And then the last sort of news they had of the movies was that fucking LeBron James is going to produce a reboot. But
basketball version.
It all got cut when the whole lawsuit of who owns the rights, the original creator rights between the two original creators, and that whole lawsuit, it pretty much just fucked the franchise and pretty much killed it at the moment. It's pretty much dead. They cannot do anything with this franchise, which is why obviously you can think like Texas Chainsaw, they're still making new movies. Halloween is still making movies. Nightmare on Elm Street, they haven't really attempted a new one yet, but I think they're on about it. Like they can make them because there's no fucking lawsuits happening. But Friday the 13th, they're not allowed to do anything with it. That's why the game died. That game was really cool, and they're going to add more like Jasons and whatnot and more stuff to it. But it was stopped because the fact the lawsuit pretty much fucked them, and they couldn't touch the franchise. It's funny because at one point the lawsuit was over, and the next minute it's back on again. So I don't fucking know what's going on with that. It's weird. It's fucking details, man. Fucking. But anyway, I think that leads us to the overalls.
Yeah.
So for me, overall, this is probably hands down my favourite slasher remake. Not just of the ones we've seen so far, but just in general. There's loads, but this is probably my favourite one. I'm a big Friday fan, and this does it for me. It does a better job of merging 3 stories into one, whereas Halloween did 2 and failed in a sense because we spoke about that. They pretty much did 2 stories and it just didn't work. Whereas this, as I said, paid homage to 1, 2, and 3 at the same time, and even 4. Even paid homage to 4 with a plot point of a guy going to look for his sister, or at least find out what's happened to her. That was literally a plot point of 4. So they managed to merge 4 movies into one and still make it work. and flow properly. Whereas obviously you say Halloween didn't really.
Yeah.
But so I do like that. Its story again is interesting. It's as you say, Clay going to try and find what happened to her. But as you say, we had the first 20 minutes. We had this group of characters which we got to know for about fucking 15 so minutes, and then they just killed them. We're like, what? And then we obviously got to know this new group of characters, which is in a lot of people's minds is the flaw of the movie, is the characters. But I don't. I think they're fine. I don't. They've got both their likable characters and they've got the fucking characters you hate, which is what you need for a horror film. You don't fully want characters that are fully in depth out because they're eventually going to die anyway. So you just want these characters that have got the basic traits to get you through this movie, understand who they are, understand what they're about. Are they dicks like Trent? Are they nice people like Jenna? That's all you need to really know for characters in horror films, really. Unless it's like a single character-driven horror, then fair enough. Fucking backstory away, whatever the fuck you want. That's fine. But in this case, it's not really needed because obviously they did it. So I don't really see it as a down point. What else we got? What else we got? Apart from obviously the porn where we dialogue, the acting's not too bad. They do a good job with this ensemble cast of mostly famous TV stars. But as you say, the porn dialogue, that was just there for some weird ass reason. The gore in the movie is not over the top, which does work for it, I think. As I said, they drag out kills within the extended version, but even that doesn't go too gory, which for a horror film is quite tame. It's not as tame as fucking Texas Chainsaw, the 2003 one, which pretty much had not much gore at all. There's a bit more here, because obviously more kills, but I still think too much gore would overkill it too much. But I think it does just about enough to keep you going. The kills, they do look really good. Every single one pretty much looks decent, apart from obviously the off-screen ones, but you got to throw an off-screen one here and there. So thumbs up to the fucking whichever department did the kills, because they did it fucking a top job here. The music's very tense. I love his theme when it plays every time he turns up. That really tense sort of beat. It does sell scenes even more when he just stands there. He's like, fuck, he's badass now. He's going for it. So again, and obviously they incorporate the original theme into the opening when it comes up with the same Friday the 13th. So that's another plus point. Cinematic wise, there is like every film is a mixture of good and bad shots, and I think this has got some more good shots than bad. Like the shot when Jason's choking at Brie, it sort of keeps focusing on his face as he's doing it. Like he's not even like moving, he's like blinking. He's just straight up facing the camera, just choking her out, which is quite interesting to see. And just not blink. He's just doing this like murder, which is weird, but still good. Talking to Jason, if I don't count obviously the 7 actors portraying, well, sorry, if I don't count the kid Jason, because I'm not counting the kid Jason or the weird part 5 Jason, there's obviously been 7 actors prior to this actor playing Jason. So obviously you had the one in part 2, part 3, part 4, 6, and then 7 to 10 you obviously had Kane Hodder, the most famous Jason, and then you had the one the fucking tall guy, who was ironically in part 8 and got killed by Jason. But yeah, this is probably my favourite Jason to date. And not in a fucking, I'm going to take you to dinner kind of date.
Are you sure?
Just mean, well, you never know. Whatever floats his boat. But yeah, this is probably the scariest. Not just the fact fucking he runs, but the fact how tactical he is. All that sums up this fucking really scary Jason, which is what you want from a movie. And as I said before to you, he does run in part 2, so it's not the first time he's ran. But this is the first time he's ran menacingly and with intent. So that is just plus for me, easily. What else? What else we got? His design. Not just like his facial design. I mean, like his outfit design. It obviously takes a lot of plugs from the older movies with the sort of look of him, and it does it well to merge them into this much sleeker like outfit of. It kind of resembles the jacket wise of the Freddy vs. Jason one, the sort of brownish sort of jacket, but it obviously is different enough to get away with it. And obviously he's got longer hair this time, which is again kind of reminiscent to part 2's Jason, which had long hair. But yeah, so I sort of look at this similar to your look at Scooby-Doo 2 in the sense that this movie is sort of simply misunderstood with a lot of people, so that it got shat on by critics, and obviously it didn't do out at the box office enough for it to gain that sequel. A bit like Scooby-Doo 2, it never did Scooby-Doo 3 because obviously it got shit on too much. So I sort of see it like that, and obviously as you say, the lawsuit that sort of fucked it as well. But overall, unlike you, I'm not overselling this movie, so I'm just gonna give it a simple 9 out of 10. But I would watch it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well, my overall is an okay film. You know, like for me, for my standard of, as you know, I'm not the biggest fan of horror films.
You're gonna say that every single one.
I am going to just to sell the fact that it's not going to be the biggest rating, but it was an okay film. Like comparing, like my only like exposure to Jason is Freddy vs. Jason, and I think that hinders it for me because in that film we had Freddy, and my type of my the villains that I like,
Humor.
I like the humorous, sarcastic kind of constantly talking villains, the joking ones. I don't really like the silent killers. They're a bit, I think, it's boring to me. I think, and I do like how this one's different. Jason, I like that, but again, the silent bit ruins it. But this isn't just for this film. This is a lot of the slasher genre, really. Reason why I'm not the biggest fan of it, but like film wise, got some pretty good cinematography, some good shots. Like the poker scene was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
The music is definitely very tense. It's done really well, and I do like the fake out start. That is a good way. So we've got the first initial start, so you think that's the start of it, and then it's the film, but that's still the opening. So that one was good, and they do a good way of telling two films in one that the Halloween did not do very, very good. So there's that at least. And I do agree that some of the characters can be really good. However, there are some that were bland, I will admit. And honestly, the sex scenes they were a bit unnecessary, I will admit. The nudes and stuff.
Not the first
just
time
saying.
It's not the first time it's been in this franchise.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's a bit unnecessary. It was
It's the most over the top in this movie, I will say that.
Yeah, it was more of just for the fact of it was to sell the movie
Pretty much.
because you horny bastards need boobs. Typical. But yeah, there were bits that were necessary, bits that were worked, and it was more of a mix for me. So I'd definitely say it's better than the previous films I've watched, horror film wise. So it's better than the Halloween and better than the Texas one. So I'm going to give it just a little bit higher than that overall. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
I just thought he was going there. I was like, wait, you gave the fucking Texas 6, you also gave Halloween 5. I was like, if you're going higher than them, it'd be a 7, I'm assuming, on your...
Yeah.
I respect that. It's better than obviously some people would give it. But I think if you like the fucking sarcastic killers, I definitely think you'll like the first 3 Nightmare movies. Because he's very good in those. They go a bit shit after that, but...
Yeah. But that's what I mean, like, I liked the Freddy in that. So I think I'd probably prefer those kind of films to the silent ones.
They go a bit shit after 3, but the first 3 are definitely ones that are good to watch. So that gives it a Cheddar Cave overall rating of 8 out of 10. Yeah, so my question of the day is, why do you think Jason has become more of a pop culture icon than many other slashers in the franchise like Michael and Freddy?
I'll probably say like probably because like obviously how long it's been going. The look as well is very more iconic than like the Halloween mask. Yeah, it's kind of iconic, but it's a bit too generic. It's too bland. Yeah, but the hockey mask is more striking. Like, because it's something you can get anywhere. Hockey mask. You can buy that anywhere, really.
They can't
And you
really buy
can dress
Shatner
up
masks
like
anywhere.
you can dress up like Jason. You can't really find the perfect Halloween mask without having to buy proper merchandise. And Scream, you can go to Poundland and get one of those ones. But then that's why Scream's like I like how Scream do that because their idea is it's a simple everyday like Halloween mask you can buy. So that works that way, and that's why I think Jason works with that. Whereas like the Halloween and all of the slashers rely on a unique look. So, yeah.
So you're basing it on his look of the character. That's what sells
Yeah,
it more.
I
Okay.
think like why he's stuck in people's minds. It's not the way he reacts because he acts pretty much like all slashers, silent, strong, budgeting killers. But instead, it's the look. I think, and it's the easy way of recreating that look. The kids can go and dress up as Jason pretty easily, whereas the other ones they can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good answer. I'm now going to drag you into Dragon's Theory Corner.
Oh God.
And because there's a theory surrounding this movie, and oh, I know a beloved franchise. So here you go, Hayden. I've teased you with this for a while. Slightly explained it to you.
Yeah.
Teased it on the sort of last one as well at the end. So this movie is set in the same universe as Transformers.
Robots in the Sky.
So for people that don't know, Transformers obviously was directed by Michael Bay.
Yes.
Friday the 13th was produced by Michael Bay's Platinum Dunes company. Okay, not enough material to...
Bit weak there.
Yeah.
Bit weak.
Okay, so here's another link for you. Obviously, they're both much darker tones on the original source. Which obviously, it's weird to say for a slasher to be darker than a slasher. But it's a bit darker than, obviously, most Friday the 13th movies because they do go a bit goofy at points. But both dark versions, especially Transformers, kids' cartoon, make it quite dark.
I mean, Tony, though, like the darker tone for Scooby-Doo films and the darker tones in the Harry Potter films are both Warner Brothers. Doesn't mean they're in the same universe. So again, pretty weak there.
Pretty weak. Okay, I'm gonna hit you with a slight little banger here. So Travis Van Winkle, who portrayed Trent in this movie, also appeared early on in Transformers, as I stated. He was Megan Fox's character's boyfriend. I know what you're thinking here. You know, it doesn't really prove anything.
Yeah, it's more of a coincidence.
It's very coincidence. Heck, you could say the guy who played Chewie in this movie was in the Nightmare remake. Because he was in both movies. Literally, it's just two different characters. So, but hear me out here. Travis Van Winkle didn't just play in both movies. He played a douchebag character called Trent in both movies. It's so much of a coincidence that he has the exact same character traits and tropes and the same name in both films. It's what makes it connect.
Did you say the full name?
No, he's only ever called Trent in both movies. It could be just a random coincidence that they've both been given the name Trent, but I like to think that it's not a coincidence that they did actually happen in the same universe, because it just sounds interesting not to have happened in the same universe. It's like one of those theories that's really interesting to me.
I mean, it's a bit far-fetched. However, the Transformers universe is in the same universe as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe,
and Megan Fox,
which has Megan Fox in both of them.
As two different characters.
So, let's be honest, Michael Bay, anything can fucking go. Let's be honest.
So we're gonna prove this theory, Chat Cave. We're gonna prove it.
So it's a good theory, but it is just a theory, a shit theory. Please watch us. Please. We need viewers.
I'm gonna get a thumbs up there. I like that theory. So, I'm gonna let bury this theory corner for now until a certain movie we do, which I'm definitely gonna bring you back for, which is the Home Alone movie. We're definitely talking about Home Alone as a prequel to fucking Saw. We're definitely gonna talk about that. But that is it for this theory corner. For about 2 months.
Yeah, just that third corner's gone now, and because Matt Patter sued, and yeah, we're out of pocket.
So yeah, that's it for Chat Cave podcast this week.
Mm-hmm.
Join us next week for our final remake podcast as we discuss the 2010 remake of The Nightmare on Elm Street, also made by Platinum Dunes.
Yes.
But until then, I've been your host, Drinking Thomas Hughes.
And I am still waiting for this fucking Dawn Explorer episode. I want to do it. So the only thing that matters in life.
There's only so many times I can sigh. But this has been Chat Cave podcast. Oh, me phone's just went off. I just got this strange message, Hayden, saying, "Come to mommy, Jason." Are you kinky sexting me again?
Oh shit! Oh fucking hell! I sent the wrong person. Sorry.
So you didn't mean it?
No, it was wrong. It was to Jason, not to you. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna fuck this shit and just come over there.
No, I'm afraid you can't. We're in a pandemic. No visiting houses.
Oh, goof this one.
Oh,
Bye, guys.
shame. Go fuck yourself, Tom.